Let's listen to this guy, Wally. Wally's trying to tell us how, inflation is under control and coming down. I'm like, what planet are you living on, buddy?
What we've seen is inflation come down over the last few years, and what we're committed to doing is doing everything we can on the from the White House and from the Treasury Department to continue to press into supply chains and making sure that those work as well as possible so that supply and demand can meet. Fundamentally, the Fed, as you know, is responsible here in terms of dealing with inflation, but our goal is to do everything we can on our end.
Okay. Just blame the Fed. When in doubt, blame the Fed. It's not entirely a bad strategy. It's just people don't really understand or know what the Fed is. What I can tell you is that they're hoping, they're at the White House, and they're still saying they're going to get a rate cut ahead of the election. And the inflation is coming down. We know inflation is not coming down. Again, we can go back to those numbers. The colorful chart that shows you how much eggs are up since this administration took over. You see that? Up nearly 50%, 49.3%. In other words, this is reality, ladies and gentlemen. If you do another rate cut, they're going to be up even higher. They're going to be up like 70%. You can't keep doing these rate cuts. That's part of the problem. And you know what? Anyone who has half a brain is going to tell you you're not getting a rate cut come May. Originally, they were anticipating that. No, it's not happening. I mean, even ABC News told you it's not happening. Let's go to the Fed Funds futures chart. Here, you go over to the CME and they look at this and they're actually measuring how many people really think you're going to get a cut, and it's not there. Well, that's Treasuries. They're way up as well. We're going to get to that in a second. But Drew, if you have the CME chart, I'd love to show it to people because it's a bar chart and it shows you like 97% of all the people that look at this market right now. Nobody actually thinks you're going to get a rate cut come May. I don't think you're going to get one at all. Not in June, not in July, not in September, not even on November 7th, 2 days after the election, because inflation has left the station. And that is why you see, if we go back to the Bloomberg headline there, you see that interest rates are going up. I mean, we're up over 4.5% on the 10-year Treasury. You understand the cost of capital is going up, because people are looking at this and there's a whole variety of things. Again, we get into this at 76 in tomorrow's report. If you have not signed up, please do me that favor. Go over to http:// well, you know what it is, 76research.com or 76report.com. Go to that website and sign up for our report coming out tomorrow, because we're getting into this. We're digging in to why gold is moving so much higher, what's going on from an inflationary standpoint, what's happening with the Federal Reserve, and then there's some ideas for investors out there, including on Disney and a few other things. So I would definitely check that out. We got a big report coming for you. But this is a problem, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, just look at gold, right? So gold has been rallying as of late, up over $2,300 an ounce. And you say, how can that be? Well, it's entirely related to what's going on with all this money printing and the money supply being what it is. Jamie Dimon talked about this the other day. Remember in his big letter, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase saying how untenable this is and predicting that we could have Fed funds at 8%? Think about that. That would be 8%. So then just imagine what your credit card rate would be. We're talking like 35% at that point, or even higher, 38%, 40%. I mean, this is not a good scenario. And this is why gold is rallying. I want to show you the money supply chart. See, I can wonk out with the best of them, right? This is actually from 76 Report. This is going to be in the report tomorrow. Rob and I were looking at this today, and you can see gold versus the monetary base. Okay, so back in 2011, do you see gold? That's in the gold section of the chart. Well, gold got all the way up to somewhere around 2,200 or close to it. Actually, it was approaching, actually not even that high. It was approaching, I think, like $1,800 an ounce. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, gold like had this huge high and then came down after this. Well, part of the reason back then, and I'm a long-term gold investor, so I don't even watch it like on the day-to-day basis, but it's important to just understand. Part of the reason why it was so high back then was because the monetary base was different, right? Like you only had so much money out there. Well, once you start to print money and you see the black line that's going 2020 through now, you see how high that went? Well, once you're flooding the market with that many dollars because you just have the printing presses going, well, that makes all the sense in the world then, that gold would rally. And so you look at those coming in line right now, and we think about the future and what it holds. I don't know how they continue to print like this, and yet this is what they want to do, because no politician actually cares really and truly about the future. Heck, Joe Biden, how old is he? 81, and an old 81 at that. You know, he's going to be long gone before he has to care about what his grandkids are going to be looking at. So you've got an older class of politicians that just want to keep the spigot open as long as they can stay in office. And this is fundamentally the problem. This is one of the reasons why I continue to like gold. This is one of the reasons why I say you're going to continue to have inflationary pressures in the economy. You know, this is why we need smarter people. We need younger, smarter people. I'm telling you, we cannot continue. This is not a sustainable path with the Nancy Pelosi's and the Chuck Schumers and the Joe Bidens of the world. All right? Like, they don't care about you. They don't care, in my estimation, about our country. And this is a huge problem. It's one of the reasons why I am proud to support Americans for Prosperity. And I encourage you to do the same, because Americans for Prosperity, they understand this. I've spent a lot of time talking with these guys, and they're as wonky as me, right? Like, they love this inflation stuff, and we can talk for hours about it, but they get it. And I'm telling you, it needs to get communicated, and that's what they're trying to do. So they're trying to make sure that we get politicians in D.C. that actually understand this stuff. I would tell you, you know, I've spoken at length with Donald Trump about it. He understands the fundamentals here much better than any other politician, but they want to make sure, over at AmericansForProsperity.org, they want to make sure that you have not just the Oval Office, but that you get the House and you get the Senate. Because I'll tell you, you get Trump in there, if you don't have everybody else in there, then it just becomes one big, giant you-know-what show. All right, to be perfectly blunt, because then it just becomes pow, 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 and they're going to fight all day long. And, you know, he enjoys a good fight. And there are those on the left that enjoy a good fight. And that's what you're going to have happen. So we can't allow that. We need to make sure that we take it all. I'm telling you, for the sake of our future, you got to have the House, you got to have the Senate, you got to have the Oval Office, and we got to have policy that makes sense, ladies and gentlemen, because this certainly doesn't.